Yeah, good morning. Running behind this morning. Didn't realize the time. Sometimes I get hooked up doing stuff and don't realize the time. It is. Good morning, everybody. Working to get set up here. We got all kinds of alarms going off on my computer. Okay, let's get back over here. All right, you guys had a good time yesterday, good day yesterday. We had a, oh my goodness, quit. We had a little gathering at Mom's, and my sister and brother-in-law was good. All right. Maybe we're on there now. Yeah, we're on there. Well, good to see everybody. Up doing stuff. Hold up. Shh. Had to close that off. Good morning, Jared. Robin, good morning. I was running behind this morning. Didn't realize I was sitting here talking to Sue. And was going through some stuff that, and didn't realize the time. Valerie, good morning. We're going to go over to Proverbs chapter 14. Just keep marching through Proverbs. Morning, Tyson Kolb. Good to see you. Winner of the Spurs. Did you get them Spurs put to work yet? Morning, Jason. Morning, Scott Maloney. Scott, men's Bible study there at the sale barn will be, we got the table set up for a meal on Tuesday, so we'll either meet in chairs or meet in the other room if everybody wants to sit at tables. Morning, Boyd Pete. Morning, Mara. I'll let Mike know, but you guys are there early, and Gary may not be there. So, all right, Mom. Good morning. Let's go over to Proverbs chapter 14, and we'll chit chat later. Proverbs chapter 14. I enjoy going through. I enjoy going through the Proverbs. There's a lot of great insight, wisdom, and goes through different things. Establishes right off at the very first that wisdom is what we ought to pursue. We ought to pursue wisdom, and when we do that, then we have the things we need in life for in other areas. But Proverbs chapter 14, it says, "A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down." But notice he says with her own words. So bringing in the insight into words, and this chapter talks a little more about words. We see the instruction about our words all the way through the Bible. I think some people say things off the cuff, say things without really thinking, but if we can tear it down by our words, then to me that's also saying you take the flip side of that and you can build it up or build it with your words as well. You may not be able to tear down the physical structure, but you can the emotional and spiritual structure of your home. Tear it down by your words. But it says a wise woman tears it down with her own words. And so I've seen people do this. You've probably seen people do this. You might have even done this. And if we realize our wrong, then we begin to make that correction. You realize the words that you're saying, the things that you're doing, are destroying things in your home, your life, your relationships, and all those things. So wisdom with words is one of the areas I believe that is as important as anything that we do, is being careful with our words, understanding the impact of our words, and really allowing the Holy Spirit to influence them. But he says, he goes on in verse 2, he says, those who follow the right path fear the Lord, and those who take wrong paths despise him. So again, fearing the Lord sets us on the right path. We're going to be on the right path because we've valued God so much. We've put the value of the fear of the Lord on a high place, and he talked a lot about that in previous chapters. So these things just keep coming around, and they just keep being built into us. That's why I've told people, go through the book of Proverbs a chapter a day, hitting these verses. Do that for a month, and then do it again, and then do it again, and do it again, and do that for a year. Every month, go through it for a year, and you will have built these things in your life. You'll begin to make these your everyday practice. That may not take that long, but it takes a while to build a habit, and rehearing these things it's important. It just builds it into a regular practice. Verse 3, a fool's proud talk becomes a rod that beats him, but the words of the wise keep him safe. Man, there's a big difference in the type and the way that your words affect you. He said, proud talk becomes a rod that beats him. It'll come back around. It'll come back around and cost you. Boy, isn't that the truth? But the words of the wise keep them safe. Verse 4, he says, without an oxen, I like this one. Without an oxen, a stable stays clean, but you need a strong ox for a large harvest. Now think about that. Back then they used animals to plow with or to move things, and they needed that ox. They said, if you don't have one, your stall may stay clean, but you're going to have to shovel some manure in order to have what you need. And I just had to chuckle about that, thinking about, sometimes it takes having some things that require extra work in order to produce in our lives. You could fit that in a lot of different ways, I think, and ask the Lord, say, God, how's that apply to me? But you need a strong ox for notice, a large harvest. We need whatever the things that are required in order to have that large harvest. It might cost you some expense, might cost you some labor, might cost you some time, all of those things. But in the end, you got to have them in order to have the harvest that you need. And so that's pretty good. You can take an analogy from way back in the old days where they had no modernization, and you fit it into today and let the Lord lead you. Verse 5 says, an honest witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes lies. That's pretty obvious, but you can ask yourself, am I an honest witness, or am I a false witness? Verse 6, a mocker seeks wisdom and never finds it, but knowledge comes easily to those with understanding. So part of the understanding we need is that we're just a person in need of God. There is a God, and we're not it. When we have understanding that God is our source and those sort of things, then knowledge comes easy to us. Verse 7, stay away from fools, for you won't find knowledge on their lips. So he said, don't waste your time with the foolish, and those who have no understanding. Verse 8, the prudent understand where they're going, but fools deceive themselves. Now, I wanted to pause just for a minute on this, because prudent is not a word that I use a lot. I mean, I don't know the last time I've used that word outside of teaching and reading the scripture. So I asked Siri what the definition of that was, and it's those that plan for their future, those that are considering their future. I always thought prudent was more just being tight, or being cautious with your money or finances. But prudent's one that's thinking about the future, planning ahead. And so he says the prudent understand where they're going. So sometimes I think there's a lack in people's lives. In my experience with people, sometimes there's just a lack in their thought process of where they're going. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in where do I want to be in 6 months? What am I going to do? Or this is the direction I'm going. What do I need to do to change this? How do I need to fix these problems or this problem? When you consider that financially, if if you're tight for money and there's not enough, and I say even if you have worlds of money coming in, budget things, write things down, realize how much money that you're burning up or spending that's wasteful, and how much more you can have, and then begin to knock out debt, begin to save, all those things that set you up for success financially. I've watched some people in my life that made very little, didn't ever have any big income, but at the end of their life, they had a pile of money in the bank. And it was because they were prudent. They saved money. They realized where money went out, and they didn't let it go out for things that were unnecessary. And they saved and they prepared. And then when they bought something, they paid for it. It was money that was saved. And so much better way of living than living on debt and just trying to budget for payments. How about budget for the future plans of where I want to be and what I can achieve without that? And we get caught now in these high interest rates, and then you're like, oh wow, okay. So sometimes we think our problem is solved just by increasing money, but oftentimes it's by stewardship of what I got and being less wasteful, realizing that we got an extra $50 here and $100 there, and $25 here, and you eliminate all those, and all of a sudden you've got this excess that we can take and then pay on something else and get rid of something. I was working with somebody on their budget, and we were talking about how to make the money stretch, and you start knocking out the things that have to be done. And pretty soon you realize, wow, this money's all gone. But here's this one big item, so let's focus on getting that away, knocking that out, taking care of that, and then all of a sudden there's a lot to deal with. So being prudent, understanding where you're going, realizing what it's going to take to get there, and devising a plan to make it all come together. That's what wise people do. Verse 9 says, fools make fun of guilt, but the godly acknowledge it and see reconciliation. Fools just pile on, but the godly acknowledge it and seek reconciliation. So they realize the problem there, and they seek to reconcile, either for other people or in a relationship back and forth with you. Verse 10 says, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share its joy. Each heart, each person knows where they're at and feeling. A lot of times we'll make a statement. We'll say, "Man, I know how you feel," and sometimes that's true, and sometimes we really don't. Maybe we've never been in that position to have and experience the trauma or the challenges or the heartbreak or the situation that somebody else is in. I will say this though, and when we go through things and experience things, the goal, God is there for us to strengthen us, to bring us through those things. And when we come through, we get to the other side, we have a testimony. And the idea with God being a part of our life, it says that Romans 8:28, that he'll turn all things to our good when we fear the Lord, when we walk with the Lord. It doesn't mean that all things are good, but he's going to be at work to turn those things around to our good. And if he can turn those things to good, gain us or allow us to have victory at the end, in the midst, it's maybe a battle, maybe a challenge, maybe it's overwhelming, maybe it's all but consuming you or has consumed you. But when we get to the other side and we have that experience and we learn from it and we grow from it and we allow God to heal so that we're not still living in that past, but we get victory over it, then it becomes a testimony. Then it becomes an opportunity for us to minister to somebody else. the own heart, each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one else can fully share its joy. That joy is the victory in the end. How it all turns, the dark times, the challenging times, they turn to good. And but here's the thing: we can help others when we've gone through some things, and we can say, I may not know exactly what you went through, but I went through some things. When I tell people to walk in forgiveness, it's because I have examples in my life where I had to do that. I wasn't going to be a victim. I wasn't going to be held back. I wasn't going to be controlled by the things that other people did that greatly affected my life. I could say they ruined my life. Well, they momentarily ruined the plans that I had, but because I remained faithful to God and trusted Him, God brought us out, brought us through, and enabled us to then have a testimony and have a strength that says, and a knowing that says, you know what, I understand, but God was there, and God is there, and He will bring you through as well. Notice verse 11. We're going to wrap this up, but he says, "The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the godly will flourish." And we'll go through the rest of these probably tomorrow. But as you begin to read through the Proverbs, here's a challenge I always give people: don't get in a hurry just to blow through them, because and so if it extends past one chapter a day, there may be one or two of these verses, because he kind of sometimes goes a lot of different directions in just one verse, and then there's a whole different idea or topic or thought with the next verse. The ones that jump out at you, the ones that are really speaking to you, the ones that really apply to your life, maybe ponder those a little bit longer. Let God spend some time around those, so that God can bring that to light for you, and so that you gain that real understanding. If it pricks your heart, and all of a sudden you feel like, wow, that's speaking to me. I'm not being wise in this area or whatever. Then set that one aside, underline it, mark it, and maybe set it aside. You keep reading, but come back to it and say, okay, God, concerning this, and the rest of your prayer time, and maybe the rest of the day, and maybe come back to it through the week, even as you read more. Keep coming back to that and say, God, show me what it is I need to do different right here. Or help me correct this problem with my words. Or help me change this part of me. Because this is designed to give you wisdom. It gives you wisdom by developing wisdom and setting and developing your character and how we operate in our lives. And so just encourage you with that. Well, listen, as we go out today, I just want you to be blessed in all that you do. I want you to go out, find somebody to do something good for. And as always, go get them for Jesus. Love y'all. Well, good morning, Jacob. Good to see you on here live. Sherry, good morning. Billy, good morning. Regina, good morning. Sean Mayfield, good morning. Kim, good morning. Ryan Owens, Sean Summers, Tyson, I already said that. Yep, got the Spurs and love them. That's good. Brad, good morning. Wendy, good morning. Scott Keller, good morning. So everybody's kind of slipped in there. Had a good group this morning. And I tell you what, going through Proverbs will grow you in so many ways. I love it. Well, y'all have a great day and be productive this week.